So Zohran Mamdani unveiled the true cost of living measure, and it unveiled that 62% of New Yorkers can't actually afford to live in this city. So it got me thinking, if we applied this true cost of living measure elsewhere in the United States, what would we find? Shout out to this commenter for the idea. So first, the true cost of living measure was not invented by Zohran Mamdani. It was actually created by the Urban Institute, a research organization, and they call it the true cost of economic security. And it calculates exactly what a family needs to survive: housing, healthcare, childcare, transportation, taxes, debts, bills, and of course the ability to save. Now, if you're saying, Patrick, this sounds kind of obvious. Of course, this is how you're supposed to measure the cost of living. What else were we doing before? Well, the standard that we follow right now is the federal poverty line. This is what policies base themselves off of, that information. And it was formulated in the 1960s, and all this formula does is calculate the cost of food and multiply that by 3. That is how they calculate the federal poverty line. It doesn't consider any of your other expenses, your debts, your ability to save, nothing. Needless to say, that is a really shitty formula. It's antiquated, it's inaccurate, and it doesn't tell the full story. So if this doesn't tell you how people are actually living, how are people actually living? When you apply the TCOL framework nationwide, you find that 49% of Americans can't actually afford to live in America. Wow, that's 3 out of 5 children that belong to a family that is below this TCOL poverty line. That's 40% of all full-time employees in America. But here's where it actually gets interesting. Now, you'd think that states where costs are cheap are better places to live. They would be more favorable in this true cost of living measure. See, Mississippi has one of the lowest cost thresholds in the nation. It costs you $96,000 to raise a family in Mississippi. Yet a staggering 58% of people live below the TCOL poverty line. In Mississippi, 56% in Louisiana, a state with one of the highest incarceration rates, one of the lowest education rates in the country. Imagine living in a red state with no major cities, no rights, and no income tax, and you still can't afford to live there. The South got to get it together. But it isn't the worst region in America. The worst actually belongs to the West Coast. They have a threshold on average of 57% of people that can't live there. Hawaii is the highest in the nation, 66%. And North Dakota is the lowest in the nation, but it's still 40%, which is wild. Imagine living in West Bumblefuck and you can't afford to live there. Meanwhile, your politicians are voting to increase your healthcare costs, and the former governor of South Dakota spent like $250 million on a commercial to make her look good. You cannot make this up. So when you think about it like that, you realize the federal government is using antiquated methods on purpose, because the real numbers make them look terrible. Actually, the numbers look bad for every single elected official in America. The federal poverty line is a political propaganda tool, but the true cost of living is a mirror. And the mirror on the wall says half of America cannot survive here at all. What should we do about it?